There are large splits in the Republican caucus in particular around lots of different aspects of energy policy. There are also splits among Democratic members of the House and Senate. So we need to approach every meeting like we've got an opportunity to have an influence on this issue. Let me give a quick overview of the legislation that we're dealing with right now and on energy policy, just to give an overview. This is also included in your talking points and on the position statement. So if you want to pull up your talking points on the backhand side of it near the bottom, I've given you brief overviews of 4 different legislative packages that I'm going to talk about right now. The first one is Senate Bill 437 and 438, introduced by Senators Mike Knopf and John Prose. They are the chair and vice chair of the Senate Energy and Technology Committee. Their bills are essentially a proposal to replace Michigan's current energy law, repeal the standards that we have right now that essentially require utility companies to invest in renewable energy and efficiency. It would replace that with what's called an integrated resource planning process. This is essentially a unenforceable oversight mechanism that does not require utilities to do anything. It just requires them to do some planning, and then the Public Service Commission, which is an oversight body, would kind of regulate that and oversee it, but it doesn't actually require them to do anything that we care about, like investing in renewables or efficiency. The Senate bills also have some major problems to them in regard to what's called net metering. Net metering is the financing mechanism for having distributed generation, or say you have a solar panel on your home or on your property, or a geothermal installation or something of that nature. Net metering is the financing mechanism that allows you to sell that energy that you produce back to the grid and get a fair rate of return when you sell that energy. This Senate package would get rid of that and essentially force you to sell your energy back to the grid without being able to use it yourself, and then forcing you to buy it back from the utility company at a higher price. So this is something that we very much oppose and we want to change. This package of bills is currently being reviewed by the Senate Energy and Technology Committee. So if you're meeting with someone on the Senate Energy Committee, it will be very important for you to talk about these bills in particular. However, all senators should be slightly aware of them, and you should please feel free to mention it to them. Over on the House side of things, we've got a similar package introduced by Representative Eric Nesbitt. This is House Bills 4297 and 4298. The legislation would do very much the same thing. It would get rid of the requirements to invest in renewables and efficiency and replace that with an integrated resource planning process. The other thing this bill does is it establishes a 30% goal that is combined for renewables and efficiency. And while that might look good on paper, it's actually not what we want, and it is not helpful for us. And I'll explain why. First of all, it's a goal, not a mandate. What we have in law right now is a renewable energy standard and an energy efficiency standard. Those are mandates. They require utility companies to invest in renewables and efficiency. This, what Eric Nesbitt has proposed, is a goal. This is unenforceable. This is not required. This is not protected by statute or any legal mechanisms. This is not something that gets us where we want to go. For that reason, we oppose the bill. We want a mandate, not a voluntary goal. The other thing is that 30% when you combine renewables and efficiency actually is not that much. Right now in Michigan, we've already got about 10% renewable energy based on the law that we have that requires utilities to do that. And then we've got about between 10 and 15% of efficiency right now, depending on which scientist or engineer you talk to, which means that we're at about 25% combined. So this 30% goal would only get us up another 5%, and it really would probably only be about 5% more of efficiency and probably nothing in renewables, or something very minuscule in renewables. So this actually is not what we want. We are calling for 30% straight up renewables, and then 2% annually for efficiency is what we want. If you were to look at Eric Nesbitt's goal mechanism, and you were to replace that with a mandate and able to increase it, and you were to combine the numbers, what we'd be looking for there is 40% if you were to combine renewables and efficiency. So just a heads up, that is the major proposal going through the House right now. That has passed the House Energy Policy Committee and is now on the floor of the House, which means at some point, every single lawmaker in the House of Representatives will have an opportunity to vote on that bill. So any state representative you talk to or their staff today, please mention those bills. There are 2 other packages that we support. The first one is called Powering Michigan's Future legislation. This was introduced largely by Democrats only and would do the things that we are calling for, raising our renewable energy standard, raising that efficiency standard, and at our press conference this afternoon, we're going to be joined by 2 state representatives that were champions in helping us get that package introduced, State Senator Hoon-Young Hopgood and State Representative Julie Plawecki. Those bills have not even gotten a hearing yet, let alone any traction in Lansing, unfortunately. However, we are lobbying in support of them. The next package that we support is called the Bipartisan Energy Freedom Legislation. This is House Bills 4878 through 4881. These essentially protect net metering, what I was talking about earlier, the financing mechanism for solar and distributed energy generation. It would also enable people to participate in community energy projects. These are things like if you were not able to put a solar panel on your roof for your property and you still wanted to invest in renewables, you could maybe join a local community that has multiple people investing in one solar array that's larger and is organized either by a utility company or a nonprofit or a group of people somewhere where there is property that allows you to do that. And there are many models like this all over the country. There are actually some great ones in Michigan. East Lansing just kicked one off. Traverse City has a really strong one as well. And so this legislation would essentially enable and protect our ability to invest in those types of energy models. A few other things around the context of energy policy right now. The governor last year gave a speech publicly coming out with his proposals and recommendations for energy. Essentially what he said is that he wants to start weaning ourselves more off of coal and move us towards either more natural gas or more renewables, but did not specify which one he prefers, and essentially said he wanted to let the economy drive which of those 2 things we invest in more going forward to replace coal. The other aspect is he actually has been supportive of investing more in energy efficiency. And so the governor is on our side in regard to efficiency, not really completely with us on renewables. And the other component to this is that the governor didn't actually lay out any mechanisms or policy mechanics for how to make this happen. So he didn't actually give any specific recommendations, but he did tell the legislature that he wanted a new energy law passed. He actually said that he wanted it passed by the end of last year, but obviously that didn't happen. And so he's changed his timeline and now wants something by the end of this year. They were hoping that they could get it done by the summer, but it's looking like this might take the entire year to debate and negotiate. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. There's another component of this that's not at the state level, but it's at the federal level that's a little bit interesting and impacts the context of this. It's called the Federal Clean Power Plan, or what Republicans normally refer to as the Carbon Rule. This is President Obama's plan by executive order that is requiring the Environmental Protection Agency to regulate greenhouse gas emissions, carbon dioxide emissions. Essentially what's happening is every single state in the country is going to be required to comply with a federal plan to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. This plan was going to be implemented in Michigan, and then the Supreme Court just recently put a stay on it, which essentially puts a pause on this program. So what that means is that right now, Michigan lawmakers are in complete control of what happens with our energy laws. There is nothing that is mandated by the feds in regard to greenhouse gas emissions, and because this federal rule was put on pause, we don't have the federal government coming in and telling us what to do anymore, and that probably won't happen for at least a couple of years. So if we want to reduce Michigan's greenhouse gas emissions and protect our climate, passing a state energy policy is our only opportunity to do that right now. So heads up on that. 2 other quick things that are going on around the context of this. One is that there's another aspect to energy policy that the Sierra Club is not engaged in, and we are not going to, but lawmakers are kind of engaging on this issue as a hot topic around Lansing, and it's called electric choice, or regulation or deregulation of the market. Essentially what's going on is right now 90% of Michigan's electricity market is a regulated monopoly, and 10% of our customers are allowed to choose other electric providers, people that aren't our major utility companies, to get their energy from. There are benefits and drawbacks to opening that up and making it more open or completely regulating the market. For environmental perspectives, there isn't a major push either way. So the Sierra Club has not taken a stance on that aspect of this debate. However, I wanted to give you a heads up because a lot of lawmakers, in particular Republicans and Democrats who are concerned with schools that get their energy from people that aren't major utility companies, might be concerned with this issue and might ask you about that. If they do, please just tell them that the Sierra Club has not taken a position on that portion of the energy policy and pivot back to renewable energy and efficiency. The other thing I wanted to mention is that a really hot topic in the Capitol right now is the Flint water crisis. Obviously, this is one of the most important and dire instances of environmental contamination we've seen in Michigan in a long time, and it really has taken over a lot of the dialogue at the Capitol. I just want to give you a heads up, the state legislature actually has done some good things in regard to the Flint water crisis, although I think they should do a lot more. The first thing they did was they passed an appropriation bill, essentially to give $28 million of funding to Flint directly through the state government for the Department of Health and Human Services, community health, all that type of stuff. The second thing they did is they passed an appropriation bill that is paying for 2/3 of all Flint residents and businesses' water bills for the period where water has been contaminated. So just a heads up, that's the context. There still are discussions ongoing about the Flint water crisis and more happening in regard to that, but nothing aside from those two appropriation bills has been settled yet. Also at the federal level, there are a lot of hearings going on this week. Rick Snyder is going to be testifying later this week. Just yesterday, former EPA director testified and some other folks as well. So just a heads up, that's some of the context that you're dealing with and things that lawmakers might want to talk to you about. It's not what we're here specifically to talk about today, but please do feel free to engage on the Flint water crisis if a lawmaker brings it up, especially if you're meeting with a lawmaker in the Flint area. I think that that's something you're definitely going to want to talk about.
The representative represents Trenton, right? Trenton?
Trenton is mine, yeah. So we have the DTE, the clean coal plant, which of course is obviously in the process of shutting down. And then we have the Trenton engine plant, but the steel plant's been gone for, you know, gosh, decades now.
But so what you're getting in an area like that is high rates of asthma, which translates into high absentee rates for kids going to school. Illnesses, both kids and adults.
High health costs.
And you know, the DEQ is actually, you know, not, you know, is allowing the standards to go up rather than keeping the sulfur dioxide standards.
So it's essentially creating a sacrifice zone, saying that it's okay to pollute a little more here because we're reducing the sulfur dioxide in the gas that goes out to everywhere else where that's used. But that population that lives right there is suffering.
Right.
Okay. So, and then that's part of what you have to do to improve those schools too, is to create a reasonably healthful.
There's a lot of issues, with that particular situation. So don't quite know how we're going to do it. I don't know if we're totally going to have the right answer. I don't think anybody ever will. But I know the focus is to ensure that, you know, the kids get the education they deserve. And quite frankly, it's not that they're not getting it. It's I think with the environmental factors. With the situation down there on the unemployment and the broken families and all of that stuff is really contributing to a massive problem.
That's
good afternoon, and thank you to everyone for coming today. Welcome to the Sierra Club Michigan Chapter Citizen Lobby Day. My name is Mike Berkowitz, and I am the Legislative Director for the Sierra Club in Michigan. And today we're here to talk to you about the urgency for a plan for Michigan's energy future. Our current energy policy expired at the end of last year, and we have to continue the progress that we've made going forward, especially on clean energy, energy efficiency, and renewable energy. Since our clean energy policy was first passed in 2008, Michigan has greatly reduced our dependence on coal, which pollutes our air, it pollutes our land, and it destroys the Great Lakes. But we must do more. We can do more, and we must do more. The Sierra Club has been aggressively organizing an effort to push back on the attacks on our renewable energy standard and our energy efficiency standard here in Michigan. The bills being pushed by Representative Eric Nesbitt and Senators John Prose and Mike Knopf are a large attack on renewable energy, energy efficiency, and would be a devastating step in the wrong direction. And the Sierra Club, frankly, will not stand for this. However, the major utility companies agree with those lawmakers and have been supporting those bills and the attacks on our renewable energy standard and our efficiency standard. These major utility companies do so, they fight in support of those pieces of legislation by spending a large amount of money to do so. We've seen this over and over again, but just last year, the Michigan Campaign Finance Network showed that the major utility companies in Michigan spent over $2.5 million on TV ads in support of these pieces of legislation. They also spent over $800,000 lobbying Michigan lawmakers and spent another $600,000 donating to the campaigns of candidates that are representing us in Lansing at the state level and control Michigan's energy policy. Now, in comparison, the Sierra Club, we always have been and always will be a truly grassroots organization. We don't have millions of dollars to spend on TV ads and campaigns and high-priced lobbying and things like that, but we represent 80,000 environmentally concerned citizens across the state of Michigan. And when utility companies are flooding Lansing with their high-paid lobbyists and their political donations, we're instead bringing an army of grassroots volunteers to the table. The people that you see around this room are here today participating in our Citizen Lobby Day. They sacrificed their time to come to Lansing from all over the state. And they're hardworking people that truly believe that we need a clean energy future and are volunteering their time to try to protect the climate and create jobs right here in Michigan. Through our Citizen Lobby program, not only today's event, but the work we've done over the past year and a half, we have met with lawmakers. We've set up 400 different meetings focusing on energy policy and trying to make this happen, getting progressive energy policies passed through Lansing. Yet, the legislature has shown no leadership on this issue, despite the 400 meetings we've organized with our grassroots citizen activists all over the state. The clock ran out on Michigan's clean energy legislation last year, and we need to continue to be aggressive and push for renewable energy standards and efficiency standards because we can't wait any longer. We need this to jumpstart investments, we need this to keep us on track towards a clean energy future, and we need this mostly because it will mitigate greenhouse gas emissions that destroy our climate and exacerbate climate change and all other sorts of pollution that come with dirty, polluting fossil fuels. The success we've seen in the clean energy sector over the past 7 years from our current renewable energy standard is truly remarkable, and we can't give up on that progress. Luckily, I'm proud to be joined by 2 lawmakers today who have been leaders on this issue and push for new clean energy standards moving us forward. And with this, I'd like to introduce Representative Julie Plawecki to talk about the renewable energy standard. Representative, thank you for your leadership on this issue, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, I'm State Representative Julie Plawecki. I am from the 11th House District, and for those of you who don't know where that's at, it's Dearborn Heights, Garden City, Inkster, 5 precincts in Westland, and 3 precincts in Livonia, just for fun. On behalf of my constituents and Michiganians across the state, I'm honored to be a part of this event. I'm proud to be a sponsor of legislation in the Powering Michigan's Future bill package. The bills are truly about economic development and creating jobs. As the current energy policies expired last year, it's extremely important to pass a responsible clean energy package. The state of Michigan has a detailed history of entrepreneurship and innovation. Increasing our use of renewable energy will create jobs, spark investment, and promote businesses in our state. Our clean energy sector supports 20,500 jobs and $5 billion in annual economic activity. Across the state, workers are manufacturing, installing, and maintaining wind turbines and solar panels. Locally produced renewable energy is a strong economic driver, attracting investment and creating jobs that can't be shipped overseas. In my community alone, several innovative energy efficiency companies provide energy solutions and cost savings for residents. These companies also provide highly sought engineering and manufacturing jobs that boost the local economy. However, Michigan is falling behind in the clean energy race. Other states in the Midwest, like Minnesota and Illinois, are reaching for clean energy goals of 35 and even 40%. Michigan can and must do better. We met our goal of 10% by the end of last year. It's time to build upon this success and set a new minimum standard of 20% by 2022. Investing in more renewable energy sources will save ratepayers money by reducing our reliance on energy from coal imported from other states. It will also provide the certainty that businesses need in order to make investments, expand, and hire. Increasing our clean energy standards will set a clear direction for our energy policy going forward. The Sierra Club is playing a crucial role in moving forward with responsible energy legislation, so I thank them for that. It is important for residents to urge their lawmakers to make the right decision in determining policy for Michigan's energy future. Growing our clean energy economy means more growth for our clean energy businesses and more local jobs. Expanding our use of clean energy will build upon our manufacturing strength, talent, and know-how, and grow Michigan businesses. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Minority Vice Chair of the Senate Energy and Technology Committee, Senator Hoon-Young Hopgood, to talk about many benefits of increasing our energy efficiency standards.
Thank you, Representative Plawecki, and thank you for your leadership on these issues in the House. Good afternoon. I'm State Senator Hoon-Young Hopgood. I represent the 6th District, downriver in western Wayne, in Wayne County. I'd like to thank you all for joining us today for this very important event. Michigan has some of the highest energy costs in the region. This makes us uncompetitive. We have a real opportunity to rein in rising costs by increasing the energy efficiency standard, and the time to act is now. For every $1 invested in energy efficiency, ratepayers save over $4, according to the Michigan Public Service Commission. Reducing energy waste also provides a tremendous opportunity to save money for Michigan families and businesses. Michigan utilities are exceeding their energy efficiency goals, saving money and creating jobs for Michiganders. And despite overwhelming success, some in Lansing are pushing to end these standards. The Powering Michigan's Future legislative package makes energy efficiency a top priority by doubling the energy efficiency standard from 10% to 20% by 2022. I'm proud to be a sponsor of this legislation because the more efficient we are with our energy use, the more money we can save. Over the next 3 years, Michigan's families and businesses will save $1.2 billion by reducing energy waste. In my community, there's much more progress that can be made. A report by the Michigan Public Service Commission found that we can reduce our energy by 1/3 over the next 10 years. Reducing energy waste will make electricity more affordable for families and businesses, and encourage businesses to invest even more in Michigan and in our workers. And we all know the cheapest energy is energy that we don't use. I'd like to introduce Dave Erickson, a registered nurse and chair of the Sierra Club Central Michigan Group, who will speak about some of the health benefits of transitioning to clean energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hopgood. Good afternoon. My name is Dave Erickson, and I am a registered nurse for over nearly 14 years in cardiac surgery and trauma ICU. I currently work at Legion's Health in Jackson. Healthcare professionals across the state are seeing firsthand the dangerous health impacts of our over-reliance on coal and other fossil fuels. This is a public health issue, so passing a clean energy policy is crucial for Michigan's energy future. Michigan already gets too much of its energy from dirty sources, including more than half from burning coal. And our coal plants emit dangerous levels of mercury, sulfur dioxide, and arsenic, which are linked to heart disease, childhood asthma, lung disease, and premature deaths. Fossil fuels create $523 billion of domestic public health and environmental costs annually. This is unacceptable, and the effects are felt right here in Michigan. Michigan's asthma rate is 25% higher than the national average. We should be taking steps to reduce pollution, not encourage it. A study by the Environmental Health and Engineering found that our state's 9 oldest coal-fired power plants emit pollution that is linked to 68,000 cases of asthma and 180 premature deaths in Michigan each year. The same report found that these 9 coal-fired power plants are linked to health complications that cost Michiganders $1.5 billion per year, or $500 for a family of 4 each. Michiganders cannot afford these health costs and shouldn't have to deal with the health complications. Each unit of dirty energy replaced by wind or solar means a cleaner, healthier Michigan. The Renewable Energy Standard and Energy Efficiency Standard put in place in 2008 was a great start. Now it's time for us to continue our progress and push for more clean and efficient energy. Increasing our renewable energy and energy efficiency standards will reduce pollution and give Michigan a cleaner and healthier future. Increasing our renewable energy and reducing energy waste will make our air safer to breathe and protect the health of our kids, families, and seniors. Using more renewable energy and reducing energy waste will reduce illness and ultimately save lives and money. And now I'd like to introduce my colleague from Michigan United, Dorothea Thomas, to speak about how using renewable energy and energy efficiency will protect low-income and vulnerable communities.
Thank you, Dave. I'd like to thank Senator Hopgood and Representative Plawecki and our partners and allies for all of their hard work on this important issue. Energy impacts all of us. However, some feel the negative impacts of irresponsible energy policy more than others. Coal-burning power plants pollute our air and water. Areas surrounding these kinds of power plants have significantly higher levels of air pollution and poor air quality. This is common knowledge. What people don't want to address is the fact that the communities that surround these power plants are overwhelmingly low-income and communities of color. These communities have much higher rates of asthma and other heart and lung diseases. The right to breathe clean air should not be dependent on your income or race. With our current energy policy expiring this year, we have a real opportunity to move Michigan closer to our goal of environmental justice. I cannot express enough the urgency of creating a clean and responsible energy policy. The best ways to cut emissions are to invest in clean energy and energy efficiency. The less energy we use, the less pollution we emit into our air. Increasingly, the renewable energy standard to 30% and the energy efficient standard to 2% is the right choice for Michigan's energy future. We have the technology. We have some legislators who share our understanding of the importance of clean energy. I applaud Senator Hopgood and Representative Plawecki for their leadership. Increasing the renewable energy standard and the energy efficiency standard will put us closer to achieving our goal of clean, affordable energy for all Michiganders. Now I would like to reintroduce Mike Berkowitz to answer questions from the media.